Will Rafa trump Arsene in the race for Gonzalo Higuain? He may be Mourinho's special one, but will Rue really be wearing blue next season? And we put your questions to our panel in added time. Joining me today are former Arsenal midfielder Ray Parlour and international football writer Peter Staunton. I'm Nat Coombs and this is Transfer Talk. So let's look at the new business. Gonzalo Higuain, the Real Madrid striker, a long-time target for Arsene Wenger and Arsenal, but it looks like the Gunners may be pipped at the post by Rafa Benitez and Napoli.
Yeah, Arsenal were close to agreeing a fee for Gonzalo Higuain a few weeks ago at Real Madrid. But since then, obviously, Napoli have sold Edinson Cavani to Paris Saint-Germain for quite a lot of money. They've done business with Real Madrid already this summer. Raul Albiol and Jose Callejon, they've also gone to San Paulo. So it does look like that they've stolen a march on Arsenal for Gonzalo Higuain and going to pay more money than Arsenal were going to.
And Ray, it seems like Real keep moving the goalposts, certainly in terms of the transfer fee.
Yeah, they have. Cavani obviously going for lots of money. I think it was about £50 million. Then, straight away they know that Napoli need a striker. So Real Madrid, obviously, before has done business with Napoli. So they're going to push the price up a little bit. Whether Arsenal have said, well, got their nose out of place and said we don't want to pay that sort of money for him. But the fans will be frustrated over it because it looked like he was having his medical and it was all good and set to sign. And it's probably a player that Arsenal haven't had since Ian Wright. That player in the box who can finish chances off. So it is a blow for Arsenal.
But if they miss out on Higuain, Suarez would be a pretty good consolation prize, wouldn't he?
I think Suarez, obviously he wants to play in the Champions League. He's made that known to Liverpool. Whether the press intrusions would be any less intense in London than they would in Merseyside, I'm not so sure. But I do think that more than Higuain, I think Higuain would be a good signing for Arsenal at 23, 24 million. But he's a good signing at over 30 million, I'm not so sure. Whereas for me, Luis Suarez is that good. I think he represents value no matter what price I had to pay.
Who do you think would represent a better buy for Arsenal?
Oh, Suarez, without doubt. I mean, I think he was excellent at Liverpool for the last few seasons. I know he's had his problems on and off the field, but he's still a quality player. And I think the work rate of him is so important because when you're playing in midfield and you see your forward running around like he does, closing people down, you can push in as well. And I think at times Arsenal have been a little bit lackadaisy in that, saying, well, we ain't going to chase balls down and you can make chances out of nothing, really. So Suarez, for me, would be the better signing. It's whether Liverpool can, talk him round and say, no, you're going to stay for another season. We'll have to wait and see. But if Arsenal don't get Higuain and Suarez, then who they look for next? Because striking-wise, they're very short and they need players.
Pete, another Arsenal target, the Brazilian midfielder Bernard, the subject of a £20 million bid from Arsenal reputedly. What's the latest on that?
Looks like it could happen. Earlier on in the summer, Bernard plays for Atletico Mineiro. He was linked with Borussia Dortmund and he was also linked with Shakhtar Donetsk, which is running somewhat of a Brazilian colony these days. And last week, Spurs were in contact with Atletico Mineiro and they were told that he'd agreed a deal elsewhere. Whether that deal has been agreed with Arsenal, there was all sorts of rumours about a medical going on. That one looks like it could come to fruition for Arsenal. I think it'd be a really good signing.
Ray, Bernard's a diminutive midfielder. The Premier League is very physical. Can you see that being a problem?
I mean, he looks a very special player. A little bit down the Oscar mould, really. Chelsea took a gamble. He had a great season at Chelsea last season. Both feet, scores goals, good football brain. And that's what Arsene Wenger wants. He wants players who can think the right way. And Cazorla has certainly done that last season for Arsenal. So, yeah, it would be a great signing, but I just worry about how small they are. We all can look at Barcelona and Spain and say, well, they can get away with it, but physical, a little bit more physical in the Premier League.
So, Pete, Spurs missed out on Bernard. They didn't miss out on Nasser Chadli, the FC Twente midfielder. Very exciting player, isn't he?
Yeah, he impressed against Spurs a couple of seasons ago in the Champions League, I think it was, when he caught a couple of goals against them. This is a really useful addition for Spurs. Predominantly right-footed, but he can play again on any of the positions in behind the front man. Uses right foot mostly, but can use his left foot. Can play in behind as a central creator too. He's a quick, powerful player with an explosive shot, Chadli, and I think he will complement the strengths that Spurs have in the squad at the moment. You can complement the likes of Gareth Bale, Aaron Lennon, Lewis Holtby, add something different to them and a goal-scoring threat too.
Chadli definitely bolsters the squad. But Spurs have missed out on a number of strikers, David Villa, Benteke, so Soldado seems to be the player in the frame now.
Yeah, it looks like that's going to happen as well. I mean, £25 million talked about. Valencia, they need to sell players, at the moment.
25 million, does that represent good business for you?
Well, they need a striker, and you've got to pay the money these days. You don't get players for nothing. So you go in there, you've got to pay the right money, and I'm sure they're over there. I think Baldini's over in Spain at the moment, trying to negotiate for Spurs, and it'd be a great signing. Look, 28 years old, and he knows where to go. He's been prolific for Valencia. He's had a great couple of seasons for them. So, I think it'd be a good signing for Spurs, and they're trying to, topple that top four. They're trying to get into that top four. They brought a couple of players in now. Chadley, as you said before, fantastic player for the squad. Paulinho's in as well in midfield. So it looks like exciting times for Spurs.
So now we look at our headliners, the big transfer sagas that are rumbling on this summer. They don't come much bigger than Cesc Fabregas. Man United clearly want their man, don't they, going in with a third offer? Yeah,
our information is that Man United are preparing a third and final bid for Cesc Fabregas. They've already been rebuffed twice already. They've missed out on their central midfield targets already. Kevin Strootman's gone to Roma, Thiago Alcantara has gone to Bayern Munich, so they're really going all out trying to get Cesc Fabregas. But if they get a no this time, that's it, they're going to have to start looking elsewhere.
Ray, Fabregas is a player you know very well. You worked with him when he came up through the Arsenal youth system. What do you think the best move for him is right now?
Well, I can see him staying in Barcelona, I really can. But look at the other side of the coin. Manchester United must have had a little bit of an inkling to keep putting bids in, because David Moyes, don't want to look a fool when at the end Fabregas comes out with and says, look, I was never going to Manchester United. So there must be something in it. Whether he decides to come to Manchester, he was a great talent, there's no doubt in that. I remember him at 15, 16, coming into the first team, training with the likes of Dennis Bergkamp, Thierry Henry, and he wasn't phased at all by it. So that will be a top quality signing for David Moyes, someone he needs. With obviously Rooney maybe going somewhere else as well, they needed someone like Fabregas to come in and fill his boots, really.
Well, let's look at Rooney then, because of course one deal might depend on the other. Can you see him ending up at Stamford Bridge?
You take the finances of a Rooney deal into account. There aren't many places that he can go. As far as we can tell, as far as our information goes, is that Chelsea are the closest to him, and that he's got no future at Man United. He's made it known through his people that he's angry and confused about his standing at the club ever since the new manager David Moyes told him he was going to be essentially a backup to Robin van Persie.
Ray, some people criticised Rooney for interpreting David Moyes' comments in a certain way. How did you read it?
And I think David Moyes, behind the scenes, wants to sell Wayne Rooney somewhere along the line. And that's why he's looking at Fabregas to maybe fill his boots. Chelsea look like they're favourites at the moment. But Chelsea are... If they can get Wayne Rooney, I think that will be a massive plus for Chelsea Football Club, and that could be the difference next season.
So we're now in added time where I put your questions to our guests. We'll start with you, Ray, and Shakir via Twitter asks, will Cristiano Ronaldo end up back at Old Trafford?
Well, not this season. He's stated that he's going to stay another season at Real Madrid, and then after that, we never know. Ancelotti is a very good manager, So I think Sir Alex Ferguson leaving Manchester United, they had such a good relationship together. So I don't think he will, but I've been wrong on many occasions, but definitely not this season.
Pete Antonio Barucci via YouTube says Ibrahimovic to Chelsea would represent an ideal transfer for him. Do you think it might happen?
Well, I agree. I think it would be a fantastic transfer. I think he's worked with Jose Mourinho before at Inter. I think he would be a great addition to the Premier League. He'd score a lot of goals. He has said already this week, Ibrahimovic, that he's going to stay if he can and honour his contract with Paris Saint-Germain, and that runs for another 2 seasons.
Ray Ali via YouTube asks, where do you think Kaká will be playing next season?
This is an interesting one. I think he'll be at Real Madrid. I know he's getting on a little bit now, 29, 30 or whatever it is. And he's probably gone out the limelight a little bit. He was such a fantastic player in his mid-20s that, he's gone out the limelight a bit. But Ancelotti again, he's played under him. Maybe he can get the best out of Kaká because he's a quality player. But I think he'll be at Real Madrid next season.